So when doing regression analysis on your calculator, the first thing that we have to do is put the data into the calculator. So the way we're going to do this is by hitting the stat button, which is two buttons to the right of the green alpha button. Okay, so we can press that and it's going to bring up this menu, and we want option number 1 for edit. So we can hit the 1 button or enter, and that will bring up all of these various lists where we can put data into our calculator. Alright, so I recommend putting whatever data that you're using into list 1, the independent variable or the x variable into list 1, and the dependent or the y variable into list 2. If you're in a class like AP Statistics, the explanatory variable would go into list 1 and the response variable would go into list 2. Alright, so once you have your data in here, we need to go into stat, go over to calculate, and there's a lot of different things in here. Right, so if you know what type of regression that you want to do, perhaps you want to do a linear regression, you can find that a quadratic regression. There's other options, uh, logarithmic regression, exponential regression, whatever option you have, you can select that. Right, so we'll start with a linear regression. All right, it's going to ask us for a X list and a Y list. So this is where we put our X data and our Y data. All right, so I put the X data into list 1 and the Y data into list 2. So by default, this is okay. This is good. However, let's just pretend that this wasn't there, it was something else, and you want to change it. The way you're going to change it is just by hitting second and then the number for the list that you want. So I want list 1 for my X list, so I would hit second and then 1, and it'll make the L1 for list 1. So make sure that your X list and Y list are set up appropriately. Your frequency list, we can clear that out. We don't need it. In the store regression equation, this is an optional step. If you would like your calculator to graph the equation that you are making, we can hit vars. We can hit right to go to y vars. We can hit enter for the first option of function, and then we can hit enter for y1. All right, and that's an entirely optional step. It is not needed. If we hit enter on the calculation, it's going to give us the a value and the b value needed for our linear regression. Right, for y equals ax plus b. Gives us the a value and the b value. Now my calculator is also giving me this r squared and an r value. Alright, so this r squared value and the r value are telling me how good of a fit this is, how strong of the correlation this line is for the data. If your calculator is not giving you this r or this r squared value, you just want to hit the mode button, and one of the options should be towards the bottom, stat diagnostics. You want to make sure that that is turned on. Alright, once you turn that on and you redo your regression, it will give you the r squared and the r value. If you're on an older calculator, perhaps you don't have a Ti-84, you're using something older like a Ti-83, or you're just using an older Ti-84 with a not updated operating system. Right, you can still turn that on, but it's not going to be in the mode. You're going to have to hit second 0 to bring up the catalog, and then you can scroll all the way down to, this is in alphabetical order, you can scroll down to the D, and eventually we should see one called diagnostic on. Alright, there it is, diagnostic on. We can hit enter and then hit enter again. Our calculator will say done, and this has done the same thing. It's just turned this stat diagnostic feature on so we can see the r squared and the r value. Alright, seeing the r squared and the r value is beneficial. If you're in a class like AP Statistics, it's something that you might have to identify on your own and then interpret. Or if you're trying to identify which regression line is the best fit for your data, you would want to look at the r squared value. Right, so we just did and I'll bring it back up, a linear regression for the data I have in the calculator, and I see that the r squared value is 0.84. The closer this r squared value is to positive 1, the better of a fit our regression is, right? So 0.84, not that great, but not terrible. But we can test some other regressions, right? So maybe I want to test, is a quadratic regression going to be a better fit? So again, I can go to a quadratic regression. I can put the x list as L1, y list as L2, leave the frequency list alone. If I want to put the regression equation in the calculator, we can, optional. We can hit vars, go right to y vars, hit enter on 1 for function, and then hit enter for y1. That's a totally optional step, not needed. Then we can hit enter for calculate, and this is giving me the a, b, and c necessary for a quadratic equation, and we also get this r squared value of 0.99. Now this is much better than the 0.84 I got when doing a linear regression. So if I'm trying to identify, well, should I model this data with a quadratic regression or with a linear regression, clearly the quadratic regression is a much better fit. And I can try others if I want. Maybe I want to try something like a exponential regression, right? So we can put list 1, list 2 in here again. You can do the stored regression equation if you would like, and we can calculate it. And again, I get a and a b for my a times b to the x, the exponential regression equation, and I get an r squared value that's a little bit higher than the quadratic of 0.997. So far the exponential is the best fit. And normally, if you're doing that, you're looking for the best fit. You're just comparing linear, quadratic, and exponential. But if you wanted to compare more, you could, and you could go into the calculate menu and choose something like a logarithmic regression or a cubic regression, a quartic regression, whatever that you want to identify as the best regression. Alright, but that's it. That's how you use your calculator to find the regression equation. If you need to do anything with plotting, check out the video on my channel for how to do a scatter plot on your calculator. If you found this video helpful at all, consider giving a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, good luck, and we'll see you in the next one.